All right, folks. We usually wait till we got over 100 people in here, but we got it going now. Still not feeling well. No fever, no body aches, no chill, nothing like that. Just congestion. It's just congestion. And hopefully getting better. Was going over a bunch of reports today. Dogman stuff, Dogman stuff, Dogman stuff. That's all it is. That's what we're talking about tonight. We have a guest on. He's waiting in the back. Nick Valente. Obviously, you guys saw I'm sure you saw the headline. Lawrence says there's some leviathans going on. Yeah, and people have been messaging me about that. Those people, dude, I got no comment with you. Those people, what can you do? They're going to do and say the most vile things they can think of. They're vile people. And if you're over there running around with them, I mean, you get what you get. I've had several people message me and say, hey, man, I didn't know what this group was. Well, that's a Hate Josh Turner group. If you happen to stumble in there, I understand. But if you're in there and you know it's what you're doing and you're in there, I mean, then we're obviously not friends. You know, I mean, there's people taking screenshots and sending them to me and saying, look at this. And I asked a couple people, I was like, well, why are you over there if you think it's so bad and vile? Because last week there was one guy was telling me that I wore Leviathan. That was a story that was made up by the crazy roofer. Like he made that up and then they just all ran with it, dude. Leviathan is the joke that we turned it into. They said that's who we worship. And now they're saying that Barton worships Baphomet. I have no idea. He wasn't doing it when he was around me. I don't know. I can't attest to that. These people are nuts, man. Apparently he left that group too. I mean, he likes hating me, but I guess being a part of the derangement over there was just too much. So a credit to him for leaving. I mean, I don't know. I don't care. Those people are nuts, and yeah, exactly, Maddie. Josh Turner derangement syndrome meetings over there. They're like, show us on the doll where you hurt your feelings. You know. Well, I just didn't feel loved. I mean, he didn't call me every day after he took my story. I just expected more from him, you know. Why? Everybody that knows me knows I work all the time. I got a lot going on. There was no disrespect, you know, to try to make anybody feel less than. So going over the Dogman stuff, let's talk about that. That's the important. That's why we're here. These people are they're on here to cause trouble. We're here to talk about the stuff that's going on. So Sunday night, I almost said tomorrow night. Sunday night, we're going to have a guy. We're going to talk about his stuff that happened to him. His name is Lucas, and he had a bunch of stuff happen to him. We talked about his neighbor's encounter on Wednesday, but it's crazy how it started too. You're going to hear about it on Sunday and how these things can manifest and then become whatever the hell it is we're dealing with. That's some weirdness, dude. I'm telling you. What was to me with that story, and you're going to see it on Sunday, hear it on Sunday, how it can start out as something and then become like a sort of a haunting. And then it just revolves around these dogmen looking creatures, werewolves, whatever you want to call them. So anyways, we're going to bring on our guest. What's going on, Nick? How you doing?
Hey, Josh. How you doing there, buddy?
I'm all right, man. How you been?
Yeah, pretty good. Been pretty busy, though. Moving from New Jersey to North Carolina last year, I've been trying to set up some teams. And unfortunately, I've had 4 people out of 8 quit on me already.
Wow.
They don't like being out in the woods at night, after sundown.
I don't blame them.
That's not that bad. Come on.
Well, it depends on what you pee on. It depends on what you do. Because I think you and I have that in common. We've both done that. Out at Werewolf Church, we were, half a mile out, and I had to use the restroom. And I know you told that story at my conference, but there's other people in the field that had it happen too. I mean, it's a common thing, and if you think about it, you are using the restroom in their territory. So I mean, it just makes sense. So what do you? What's been going on? It's been so long since we've talked here and there, but not, and we haven't done a show together in a while. So what's been going on with you in the International Dogman Project?
Well, I've been opening up different sites, throughout the United States and the world. We have IDP Europe, IDP UK. We're soon to open up IDP in Australia and New Zealand, because in Australia I have about 75 members that are members of the International Dogman Project USA, which is the main site. So I've been setting that up. I don't know if you know, I do 2 podcasts a week, In Search of Legends with Jay Fountain,
Mm-hmm.
and Cryptid Consortium with Jay Fountain and Gary Spikes. That's a really fun show, because we pick all the cryptids that people don't usually talk about, and we just go over them and tell them what they're about, where they've been seen, what's going on with them. And then we give our opinion on what it might be. I mean, between the 3 of us, God, we have about a good 80 years worth of research and experience. I've been reading Bernard Hoovelman's book, in search of living legends, as it is. And I mean, it's a big book. It's like 700 pages. And
Mm-hmm.
even though he's now gone, he is the father of cryptozoology.
One of them.
And I don't just do Dogman. I mean, I do all the cryptids. I kind of specialize in Dogman, but it's a wonderful book for anybody that wants to pick it up.
Yeah, Hoovelman, definitely. So what because you were in my book and you've been on the show before. People don't know Nick Valente actually used to be with the North American Dogman Project. They broke into 2 groups. Now this International Dogman Project, which is headed by you, and you have had your own encounter with the Dogman. I don't know how many people actually know that, but and it was near the Lamapee Reservation, right, Nick?
It's a Lenape reservation that used to be up in the Watchung Reservation area.
Yeah,
That's what it's called now. It's in New Jersey.
yeah. So you and I were talking recently, and you brought up that there have been a lot of reports out in California
Oh my
because of the
God, you wouldn't
fires.
believe it. Yeah, with all the wildfires, Josh. I mean, normally during a day, I'll get anywhere from 10 to 45 reports on Dogman or other cryptids. It just, the uptick was crazy with the wildfires. I've been getting reports from all over the place, including a couple of the Army forts out there in California. I guess the wildfires are pushing them out and more people are seeing them. And I'm getting emails and getting mostly Facebook Messenger messages. Get a few phone calls here and there. I mean, I'm getting contacted by a lot of people, and within the first 11 days, gosh, I got close to 180 reports, people seeing Sasquatch and Dogman. And one lady reported seeing Mothman. That was unusual. That was absolutely unusual.
The Dogman reports, what do they number in since the fires?
Let me see here. I was ready for that one. In California, Dogman reports were, as of yesterday, 103
Wow.
sightings. These are sightings.
So you're dealing with what people claim that they have seen since the fires. This is just
Right.
103 since the fires.
That's only since the fires.
What is it normally like in that area? What's a normal?
Mostly Sasquatch for California.
Yeah, even in the South.
Yeah, even in the South area. Usually, I mean, remember, these are people that normally wouldn't contact me, but maybe they saw me on your show or a YouTube channel or something, and they got in touch. It's usually since the fires, there's been a lot of Sasquatch reports. The Dogman reports in the old days would percolate in maybe 3-4 a month. Because you have to remember, I got some people calling up and they're BSing. I mean, I had one guy who told me he worked at an airport, not a big airport, just a small airport, and he was a security guard, and he was seeing 50 and 60 12-foot dogmen run by his his little guard shack on a weekly basis. And the BS monitor came up on that one because no such thing. I've never heard of a 12-foot dog man. I think the guy just wanted to get on our show because we, in search of living legends, we go through everybody, who wants to be on there. We check them out, both on the computer, and we talk to them. We try to get them live on a video. And this guy did not pan out, and I wasn't going to embarrass us. Or him for that matter, because I wasn't going to take it, if he was going to go on claiming, 50 10-foot dog man ran by his guard shack on the,
Well, just so you know, I get about 20 or 30 of them, about 12 foot tall, by lunchtime every day. Yeah, out at my ranch when I'm out there. Yeah, they just come right up, man. Yeah, sure, man. They come out. They dress in circus clown outfits and they do tricks and flips and it's amazing. Some of them look like lemurs. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, we have fun out there though. We talk to them and we have habituated them. We give them cantaloupe. We didn't realize they were all on a diet. We were trying to give them meat and they were like, no. We're refined now. We're vegetarian. We're vegan, and they are all going on a diet.
Vegan dogman. That's nice.
Exactly. And so they like cantaloupe and yeah. So that's crazy. So you're looking at 100 reports since the fires.
Yeah.
And so what give us one of them. I don't want to say typical because there isn't anything typical about this, but what would it be? What would what sticks out? Throw one out there that sticks out to you.
Well, the one that really stuck out to me is that I got a report and this came on Facebook Messenger, and I don't know whether they set it up that way or what, but it was 2 different names, and it was a husband and wife driving down a roadway, and they were going away from the major city that was on fire, and they advised that they saw a dog man run across the road, stop at the side of the road, turned and looked at them, and they were maybe about 100 feet behind where he was, and then he ran off. Now, I get another report about 5 minutes later after that, the same road, a single female in a car driving, and she's telling me she saw a dog man. She says on 2 feet, this is not a wolf now, on 2 feet, she saw a wolf-like creature, about 7 feet tall, dark hair, a wolf-like face, high ears, muscular, and it was on the same roadway. Now, I don't know if these people knew each other, but I looked at the report later on and I noticed that it was the same roadway that they were both on. So that kind of stuck out to me that, that both parties, 2 and then another, then a female, had seen this. And she had mentioned that she saw me on a YouTube channel and decided to, send me a Facebook Messenger message.
So the people that you've talked to, you feel like most of these people are credible? It's what do you think?
There's no way to tell unless I can, speak to them, on a telephone, and I'm listening to them, the way they talk to me, what they say. I question them. I'll question them again with the same question, but a different way. I asked several different questions, about the weather, about how light it was out, and then I'll slip back into what they told me about what they saw. And, in this instance, it kind of seemed like the young lady saw the same thing that the couple saw. Now, I don't know if they got together because their message came in 5 minutes after the couple's message, but it was strange. It was strange. I didn't notice, though, that it was the same road until about a half hour later.
So when you're fielding these reports, and now you said let's back up a little bit. You said you have people that are going out into the woods and they're not wanting to be out there.
Oh, in North Carolina, I'm trying to
what's the
see.
purpose?
Back in Jersey, I had 4 teams already set up.
Yeah.
And I drew them from the place where I worked. I've retired. Well, I was retired from work because after you reach a certain age, they don't want you anymore there. And I don't really work there anymore. What I was trying to do is I put it out to people around here, in International Dogman Project, North Carolina, that I was looking for volunteers that I would train. I'll suit them up, with clothing. They're going to have to get their own firearms and everything. But I've taken several people out into the woods with me. I've had as many as 8. And after it starts to get dark, they just don't want to be out there in the woods, some of these people. I got 4 people, 4 left, out of a total of 10 that originally volunteered. I do have to say, though, I did take them up to, I guess you would call it North Central and sort of close to Northwest North Carolina. That's where the Blue Ridge Mountains are. I took them up to Boone and to Sparta, North Carolina, and that's sort of near Asheville. One guy didn't want to come back because he said Asheville being flooded and all that and hit by the hurricanes is more likely that we're going to see a Dogman, so he didn't want to really go. And I kind of questioned him why he wanted to be on the team in the first place, and he just said it's because he would get a cool shirt and some patches.
Wow.
I mean, I told him, I said, man, all you got to do is send me a little email and I'll send you some patches, for free.
Yeah.
You don't even have to pay for anything. You know how I do. I don't charge anybody for patches.
Yeah, you're nice about stuff.
Definitely. And the only thing I was going to do is give him a uniform, but at least he was honest about it. But none of those folks wanted to be out there, late at night, except for 4. I'm down to 4 people. I'm waiting for Gary Spikes to move down here. He should be moving down in the next, I guess, year. And,
where's he coming from?
Excuse me?
Where's he moving from?
Oh, he's moving from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And Jay Fountain, he's moving from all the way upstate New York near the Canadian border. Jay is just sick and tired of the freezing weather.
Yeah, he told me.
He goes, that's it, no more. And besides, his wife has family down this way. And there's I guess, an abandoned gas station that's boarded up. It's got like 3 bays, and I showed him pictures of it. And I mean, it has nothing to do with Dogman. But I said, what we can do is we can open it up and make an MMA studio out of it.
Yeah.
It's right, Josh, it's right on Route 1, Capitol Boulevard, right on the main highway. And for people that want to work out in MMA, do the training to have the stamina and the endurance and toughness to be in the MMA, well, we can do it. I mean, Jay went to Abu Dhabi, he went overseas and fought there. So, I mean, he's very well qualified, and I've got a background myself. So between the two of us, be pretty nice.
So why North Carolina, though, Nick? I mean, what was the draw?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
I had spent 10 years down here in my youth, and I always loved it. And I have a son that lives here, and he has my 2 little baby grandchildren. So I wanted to be near them.
Of course.
And I'm going to tell you something. First of all, even, almost equal to that, compared to New Jersey, North Carolina is wonderful. I was brought up to be respectful of people. In New Jersey, people are not respectful. They're not nice. It's, I'm sorry, I'm not a political animal, but political wise, it's too liberal for me. I love it a lot better down here. You ask somebody, in a store where something is, they take you to it. In Jersey, they point. Oh, it's over there if they talk to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a nicer place. And my God, just the temperature yesterday, I was working out in I got a 2-car garage with my workout equipment now. And I got a screen over the front door. It was 77 degrees yesterday. It was absolutely wonderful.
It was like 82 here, wasn't it, Anthony? 81, 82.
Yeah.
Thank God. I remember those years where you had the big snowstorms.
Yeah, it's been cold every year. We've gotten some really cold weather, but it's this month has not been. It's been warm. And then at night it gets to the high 50s or whatever, but that's it.
I know. Jay called me up, and he told me it was 10 degrees there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember.
He's fed up with it. He's fed up with it. He'd rather do the research down here. And he and his wife have done research in North Carolina, and they've really come across quite a few things. So I can't wait till he comes down. Yeah,
it's going to be good when you got somebody there with you. I mean, you and Jay do good work. I like Jay a lot. He's a good guy.
He is. He's a really good person.
Always been very cool, helpful, respectful. Gone over a lot of reports with him too, and you. But here's the thing. What people don't understand about this whole thing, they think it's a big joke. And even though you may not agree, and I may not agree all the time on what these reports are, the fact of the matter is you guys do a lot of work. You have a lot of people that are trustworthy. I've met a lot of them. And you do a good job. And fielding these reports ain't easy. Thank you for those that donated chicken's legs and JD 1975. How you doing, JD? JD actually lives here in Austin. So got a podcast too.
Channel.
What's his podcast name again?
I don't
give us the name, JD, so we can put, and we'll put it down
it was called like Four Brothers or something like that.
So you can put the name on there and we can promo. And of course, if you want to put your information down there, Nick, or send it to Anthony. Do you have Anthony's number? I don't know if you do. And then Anthony, you can turn it over to Madeline and she can put it in the deal, or you can.
Yeah.
I can put it in the private chat comments if you want.
Yeah, just put it in there so we can. Sarah Lee says New Braunfels, right outside of Austin. We filled a report from there that I think about every now and then. It was a guy. I remember this guy. He was homeless, and he was heading from up north in one of these northern states to go and live in San Antonio with his brother. Remember that, Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up like camping out, and something went into his tent. Really crazy. Good question. Leone asks a question. Nick, do you think Dogman lives underground? I'm going to let you start with that one. Nick, what do you think?
Definitely. I definitely think they have underground layers. They have the on-ground layers that are like, just think of a large haystack, and they burrow into there. There are reports that I've taken, hundreds, that they're in caves. Natural caves and man-made caves, mines. The mines that they're abandoned these days. They're all over the place. In actuality, I mean, I found them in New Jersey. I found them across the border in Pennsylvania, in New Hope, Pennsylvania, Lambertville, New Jersey. I had reports there, which we actually investigated, and a lady's dog was missing, and we found footprints. And I would swear to it that it's a Dogman footprint, because the print was literally 15 inches long, and it had claw marks, and it didn't look anything like a wolf print at all in the Lambertville, New Jersey area. And it was right near a river. And the minute I posted that in the IDP USA, I had 2 people from New Hope, Pennsylvania, contact me and indicated that they saw a bipedal canine at different times during the, I would say, between 6 at night and 9 at night in that same area where the lady's dog was missing. So I mean, they're all over the place. They must hibernate someplace, and they go towards water sources because that's a source of water for them, and food, fish. And also you have deer and other animals that go near the water to drink. And this way, it's another way of getting a source of food.
You think that, because I was talking with my guys earlier today about this, about the whole underground cave systems that we have here. And that we know, because we've talked to some people. There's a guy named Jeremy. He was an African-American guy. Can't remember his handle on YouTube, but he's been in the chat. And he actually, I don't know if he's watching today, but he actually was doing security at this caverns. And they had a problem. There was a break-in. Now, I didn't realize this, but apparently these caverns, now they don't admit this publicly, but he was claiming that these caverns go on for miles, for like 2 miles exactly. And he thinks they go further because when he was down there walking around, he went down into them, and there was a guy that worked there before him, named Norwood or Greenwood. He kept referring to this guy, and I briefly spoke with this guy on through email. And he was the original guard there, and they only worked the outside of it because there was vandalism. But something happened, and there was a breach in the caverns, and they went on for miles. According to him, it was 2 miles, and it stopped. But they only go in about a 1/4 mile, but then you could go further if you wanted to. The public is only privy to like, I think, a 1/2 mile worth of caverns just winding around. And he claimed that they went on and on and on, and they went under a highway. And you could actually walk under there and hear the highway. And the breach actually came from an open pasture. The people that used to have, there was 62 acres. They don't own that anymore. They sold it because they had, quote unquote, problems. Now, I don't know what those problems were. I'd be lying if I speculated and said they were anything other than money problems. I don't know. But there is a pasture there where they had them posted up, and they had no idea what they were guarding. They were guarding an entrance to these caverns.
Right.
And according to Jeremy, the one guy who told me that he had walked through there, and it was a guy named Norwood, like I said, Kenwood, something Wood. I can't remember. This guy had gone through there and told him exactly what was down there. So when he went down there, he said it was a hot summer night and it was nice and cool. So he just kept walking. You know, it's some incentive to get out of the heat. They turn the AC off at night. So he was there and he was burning up. So instead of just wasting gas sitting out topside, he went down in and walked all the way. He said it was like 2 miles. He said, I know because I used my watch to track it. And he said, we get in about 2.1 miles, and then there's this, like, it ends. There's like a fence right there where they put up to where you can't. There's like a steep drop off, but it's only about 10 to 12 feet. He said, then there's like a slope that goes up where you can just kind of run up it. Now you'd have to climb down and not hurt yourself, but you could keep going. And he said, then it begins this like trail keeps going, but it's not paved out like this trail. It becomes like dirt. And where he was on, you had to actually get to a stopping point and then you go over a barricade. But you could just jump over it. And then he said you go to another one, you jump over it. And he was claiming that he heard shrieks and howls coming from this T. The second time he went down there, he brought somebody with him. He's like, I know I'm not supposed to, but I was interested. And so as this guy that was a friend of mine, him and his girlfriend came, and they were researchers. And so they wanted to go down there, so they paid him. And so it was a temporary account. So he took them down there, and he showed them the caverns. And the guy was like, there was a draft coming at the T where it teed off. There was like one going to the northeast down to the southwest, and it was kind of like at an angle. And he said that it felt like air conditioning coming in. And the guy said, that's not normal. That's not natural. This far down, there shouldn't be that. But he said if the further we went, the more noises we heard. He goes, if I was by myself, I'd have been asses and elbows out of there. He's like, but I'm with these other 2 people. He's like, and then I get a call from the guy who's topside at the pasture spot when I get out of there, because you can't get no phone reception. He's like, I get out of there, and the guy's telling me that he saw something that was the size of a cow, black and hairy, and was running around on all 4s out in the pasture. Now, the interesting thing about that is that those people had sold their land 2 years and 8 months prior to that. There was nothing there. Nothing. No cows, nothing. Now, adjacent to there was some cattle, but they would have had to break down a fence to get in there and run around. And the guy was there till 7 a.m. And in the morning, he didn't see anything. And he reported that there were strange tracks. He thought, look, this was a wolf. And the guy was like, no way, this can't be a wolf. Because, even though I know what I saw, he goes, I just don't think it's a wolf. It looked too weird. It was the size of a cow. So he asked me if I thought that there were wolves out there, and I said there could be. I know there's coy wolves. I don't know about wolves, but that area where he was at, not 10 miles down the road, is where there was a guy who got pinned up in a tree, and we've referenced that story before about this guy fighting for his life, basically against these beings that were in a pasture eating cows. And I say cows is in plural because they had taken down 2 or 3 and they were eating them. They were destroying them. And this guy ended up in a tree because these things lost interest in the cows once they saw him. So if they were purely physical, those particular beings, if they were just a physical manifestation of a being, whatever, they would just keep eating the prey that they were eating. Why would they stop to be interested in treeing a human and going up after him? Which makes me wonder, pause for thought, what is the purpose? Why would they want the human over the cow, over the cattle? I mean, they had 2 cows and a calf that they were, and so really there were 4 because one of the cows was pregnant. So they had taken it down and they had taken out, So these beasts that we could describe them as monsters. You're talking about maybe 10 miles from the 2-mile spot. So yeah, I definitely think they come from underground because they ran across that pasture and jumped the fence and went into that other pasture, which was on that side where those caverns are, probably to go back down to where they came from. So the guy that was working there, he asked me if I thought that what he encountered could have been a werewolf, Dogman, whatever. Hey, Shane, how's it going? West Coast Dogman Project. And I'm like, I absolutely could think that it could be. I mean, do I know that it is? No, I don't. I can't prove it. But do I think that that's what that report is? Yeah, I do. And it was a friend of mine that gave me this guy's information, and so I appreciate that. But this guy, he was pretty. He went to school with a friend of mine's best friend. Like, these guys are triplets, literally, and they went to school with this guy. And they told me, like, hey, this guy's he's a good, honest guy. He's like my brother's, best friend or whatever. So he was a credible witness, but he claimed he didn't see anything, but he claimed that this guy told him he did. And he heard a bunch of noise that sounded really strange. And he did see some stuff, but he didn't see a Dogman per se. But I always wonder about that.
Josh, was this in Pennsylvania, Crystal Caverns, by any chance?
No. Right here in Central Texas.
Oh, in Texas. All right.
I got to tell you, though, Nick, you got to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
They are building a state park on the other side of 35, like down, because this one here is north of Austin, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's another one down, where is it? Anthony Shirts, which is just north of San Antonio. And they're building a $35 million project. 35. I heard it was 35. Now I'm hearing it's 42. Mm-hmm. So 35, 42, whatever. Once you get to those numbers, what does it matter? $40 million they're putting into building a state park right there.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about that is that's where Natural Bridge Caverns is. Interesting. Really interesting. When you realize, because when we were there, we were talking, we started talking to one of the people that worked there, and we got him to talk about a lot of stuff. We got into some weird stuff. He was wearing when he was leaving, he was wearing a shirt, a UFO on it. So we started talking, and he was, getting off work when we were outside of the caverns, and we started talking to him and a female that worked there, and they started talking about ghosts and all kinds of weird stuff. One of their friends worked at the wildlife. What is it? The safari? What's it called?
Wildlife safari, I think.
Is it what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a wildlife park. They have all these hoofed animals there. And monkeys. They don't really have predators. but they have hoofed animals galore and then monkeys. And she said that there's something that would come out at night. It was spooking the animals. And these animals, they'd find them the next day all bunched up in little areas. And the guys that were supposed to be going out and checking at night, they had security who was either being lazy or he was afraid. He wasn't going out into the park. And so some of the animals were, being spooked. We don't know if they were taken or anything like that. Nobody said that they were. But that's interesting. The interesting thing about this is that these state parks, national parks, seem to host disappearances out the wazoo. And so you have these people now, they decide, hey, we're going to build a state park right here, right on top of the caverns. This is where people go missing, right? Abundant, a bunch of Bigfoot and Dogman reports in that area, a lot, like a ton. And so that whole corridor right there, you get all these reports, and now they're just going to, hey, we're going to build this here. I don't think that's a coincidence. And that is where people go missing in those national parks. It's usually around the cave systems. So what do you think of that, Nick?
It's extremely possible, that they do have, tribes of Dogman or even Sasquatch in those caverns. I asked you if it was Crystal Caverns in Pennsylvania because they had closed it down for 6 months because of the sounds that they were hearing coming from the end of the caverns. I'm just wondering, this cavern in Texas there that the fellow walked down 2 miles, did they have lights in the ceiling?
Yeah.
Did he tell you?
Yeah, up to a certain point, after the first mile, or like almost a mile,
right?
In between 3/4 and a mile, he said that there were none, but he used a flashlight. He had a really high flashlight.
Hope he would have more than one flashlight.
Oh yeah, he seems like a professional.
Yeah. Did he mention any scents? Did he smell anything rank?
Yes, he did actually. Dirt, and then it smelled kind of like rotted. Whenever he would come to these, what are they called, Anthony? The forks? What do you call it? The
forks,
when he would come to the forks. Yeah, the air smelled like fetid. My words, not his, but that it was rotten, and that there was like stale water, smelled like stale water. Not really like sewage, because I asked that question, but he said, yeah, it smelled really bad. Tell the people why you would ask that question, Nick.
Well, I would ask that question because generally, from reports and from personal investigation of burrows in caves and mines, we found the bones of animals broken up deep into the cave areas. So, I mean, they'd have to kill their prey and take it back, to their, let's call them families. And after a while, it gets kind of nasty smelling. I would imagine that they don't poop where they eat, because most dogs, if you put them in a cage, and you feed them in the cage, they won't soil their cage. They'll wait till they get out.
They'll hold it as long as they can.
The same thing.
So, and you doing what you do now, I know for years and years we've been talking, and we've talked a million times about this. What is your thought on whether or not they're just completely physical or they could be metaphysical? What is your stance on that? Has it changed over the years, or what?
It has changed over the years. Yeah, I think they are physical, but because our scientists have said that there are 11 different dimensions, I think there's some way that they travel between dimensions, Sasquatch, included. I think they are of physical nature, but when they have to get away or they have to go someplace else, I think they do somehow do dimension hopping. And, as far as I just want to make a statement, because I do a lot of the cryptozoology. If you could see in my office here, I've got, at least 300 books on different, on zoology, cryptozoology, everything. It's that most zoologists and most people are negative about the idea that a large undiscovered animal species exists. They don't even keep an open mind that anything is possible. I mean, anything is really possible. We really have to be, up with ourselves to think that we're the only species in this universe, and on this earth. And it's very possible, that Sasquatch, Mothman, Dogman, and the like, they are in their own areas and they're hidden and they're staying away from us. And it's very possible that they can dimension jump, whereas we can't. The same thing with light. We can only see like 10% of the light spectrum. Dogs and cats can see more than we can. It's very possible that, there is a universe right behind us that we can't touch. It's like a different dimension. We can't touch it. Maybe these creatures are in those other dimensions and they can actually see us. I mean, you got to put some thought into it to, to understand that. But, if you really think about it, it's very possible that I could have something behind me right now from another dimension, but I can't see it.
Yeah.
Because my eyes are limited.
When I first started talking to you, dealing with you 7-8 years ago, it's been a while now.
It's been quite a while. Yeah.
It's been a while. I remember you saying that when you were going out on a trip, that you were going to take holy water and silver, and my ears perked up because I was like, okay, now you finally got a researcher who's going to take every precaution, because you're not one of those guys that's like, well, it could be that, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to prepare for the physicality of it. You actually took something prepared for the metaphysicality of it.
White salt, black salt, holy water, silver, even certain types of wooden stakes, with, just in case. Besides the weaponry that we're out there with, and bear spray is always number one. And my electronic flashbangs, I've got some new ones that I'm using, and take them out there too. You never know if it can give a distraction and give you 3 or 4 seconds. You can defend yourself, because people shouldn't be fooled. You're not going to run away from something out there that is of a Dogman type or of a Sasquatch type any more than you could run away from, say, a mountain lion. You run, the mountain lion's going to chase you and it's going to tag you and it's going to eat you. There's no way you're going to beat it. You might as well stand and defend yourself right from where you are. But as far as the salts and everything like that, we made up over the years, we made different ways of getting that salt out there just in case we have something that is out there and our bullets can't affect it if it's attacking us.
Funny, Sayla Nemesis says, she's talking to Audacious Amber. She says, my weapon of choice is the flamethrower. That's funny because when we were talking about the Hernandez Ranch and that guy, Christopher, remember Anthony? He was sort of an arrogant guy, and he went out there and he got attacked and he shot something, but it was the people that were there. One of them is a former, vet. And he had a little friend that was out there that they called Fuego, and he figured out why, because the guy shot a flamethrower at that, and it caught the end of that thing on fire, and the thing took off into the woods. But fire is a pretty good purification. I don't know anything that just bounces off the fire. It's like, oh, well, I'm not worried about fire. No, pretty much everything universally.
Everything, yeah. And it's funny that, I like her thinking, because my old teams, we always had 3 guys with a small type of flamethrower that they would put in their packs. If you come across a Wendigo, a rake, well, first of all, the only way you're going to take one of those things on is with a flamethrower, from what I understand.
Yeah,
and
that's what I've heard.
It's an excellent thing to take with you. I have a thing. It's a one shot, and then you got to reload it. You got to open it up. It's I call it the bear flare. It has a loud bang, and it shoots out 20 feet a flame, like a flare straight out. So I carry that with me in lieu of the flamethrowers. Like I said, my old team, they used to have it. Some of the guys made them up. I'm gonna give them a shout and see how they made them up, because I want to start taking them with me out over here too.
You can buy them down at GTs, actually.
Well, size wise, you don't want these giant flamethrowers.
Yeah, no, I mean, like they sell small ones that property owners will use for controlled burns. At least that's the intended purpose.
That's what they're supposed to be
Yeah.
using. it
Yeah,
for.
yeah. They use it to kill weeds.
So, in your opinion, do you think that that it's a good deal to take all that stuff out, even though it's been years? You still do it?
I
You
still
still
take
do
it
it?
with me.
Think it's a
I
good
still
idea?
take it with me, everything. I'd rather have it and not need it, than need it when the time comes, and that's the end of that. I mean, granted, we look like we're a little military group going out there.
Mm.
I mean, with my other teams back in Jersey, we were dressed up. We had the bulletproof vests. We were totally jocked up, and we carried this. Everybody carried the salt. Everybody carried the silver. Everybody carried holy water because you never knew. The few times that we did come to North Carolina, we met up with that one creature that was actually a misshapen bear that was actually larger than your normal black bear, and they fired bear spray on him, instead of killing the thing. So, and we learned quite a few things out of that one too. One of them is that in North Carolina, bears do not hibernate. So you do have to be careful when you're out there. Black bears do not hibernate here.
Yeah, I had an experience with the black bear once, and everybody who was with me was much smaller than me, and they were like looking at me like I'm supposed to do something. So I did, and it ran off, thank God. But I was like not prepared because I was like, I don't want to have to do anything to this thing. But it was around the campsite, and I had to get rid of it, and so I didn't hurt it. It didn't hurt us. It took off. He was young. I don't think he was a very old bear. He looked young. And he wasn't humongous, but he was big. He was a big dude. He was bigger, bigger than most people. And they can and will hurt you. People think black bears don't hurt you. And also the misconception is black bears are always black. They're not.
No, they're
Black bears are
brown because that's for their own protection sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they're hunted. People don't understand. Brown bear actually hunt and kill black bear.
Mhm.
They are smaller, but some black bear that are in that have, habitat is near brown bear, their hair will turn brown. And people are going, oh, look at the little, brown bear over there. It must be young. No, and in actuality, they're older bears, but their hair has turned brown. It's amazing how the brown bear will look at it and go, oh, it's just another brown bear, and I'll leave it alone. But they do. They actually do. We were talking on the show the other night, Jay and I, about bears, and we were saying like some of these the brown bear, 8 feet tall, 1,600 pounds.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about some pretty big animals out there. The black bear, generally they go 6 foot, 6'2". They can go up to like 500 pounds, but generally you can scare them off. And especially if you're with another person or several people, but you have to be the peace of mind to be able to scare them off, and everybody has to cooperate. You can't be screaming and stuff and,
Yeah.
in panic.
Yeah. And just to clarify, like the grizzly bear is a subspecies of the brown bear. Brown bears are that's just a classification. There's brown and black.
Mhm.
But grizzlies are a type of brown bear, and typically it's the region that they're from, whether or not they're called grizzlies or not. And yes, they do get
Kodiak
big,
bear.
to 13 feet. They're humongous, and Kodiak is another subspecies of that.
Right.
And they're found in Alaska. I've seen them, and I've also seen a humongous grizzly. It was a nuisance animal. I've told that story before up in Alaska. And somebody went up there to take care of it or whatever, but not a very likable guy. And I did some bodyguard work, and it wasn't pleasant. But brown bears. And so let's switch gears for a minute here. We got Nick on. So let's go to Kamchatka, or the taiga region of Russia, and what a lot of people describe as a cryptid, but it's what they call the god bear. It's a short-faced cave bear. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, that is an awfully big and nasty looking creature.
Mm-hmm.
My God.
The Russians swear that that's where it's from, and the The Tartars and the Cossacks that rode through that region would describe this animal as being the size of 3 full-grown grizzlies with a cubed head, a squared-looking head with a flatter face, but extremely aggressive with long, powerful limbs. And the limbs were thick, not like the Kodiak, which is long, thinner limbs.
Right.
And this thing was humongous, and it would run down and attack men on horseback, which typically a horse is fast enough and agile enough to get away from a grizzly. But let me tell you something, folks, not when it's carrying a 200-pound man. The horse might actually, if it doesn't like you enough, it may decide to self-preservation is the order of the day, and it just throws you to the ground, leaving you to be taken out by the god bear. And then, of course, it boogies out of there. That is the sad thing that, but the Tartars and the Cossacks go way back, these people that inhabited that region, they were like one with their horse. They were like Comanches. And so the horse would die with them typically. But they have stories of these god bears coming out, especially in wooded areas. They were told not to hug the tree line because that you can't see the bear come out of the woods, even though it's a humongous animal. Said to stand 15 feet tall. People's like, there's no way that could be. Yeah, they have a prehistoric record of these things.
3,500 years ago, they're supposed to be extinct.
And they're still around.
They're still reporting them. They're still reporting these things.
Prehistoric looking tigers too, with short fangs, not short like the ones we have that you see running around, but they're somewhere in between, like a smilodon, and they have stripes, and they'll have like fangs about half the size. That there is a prehistoric record of that. Now, I read something recently where there was a report, and they were like, "No, there's no record of this." Yes, there is. Now, I don't know where these people get their degrees. Maybe out of the Lucky Charms box, but
Cracker Jack box.
yeah, that's there absolutely is a record of that. They're just not as prevalent. Now, it depends on where you're at. And if you sit there and you encroach in their area where they're at, you just prey like anything else. And so, yes, the shorter fanged smilodon could be running around. The short-faced bear could be running around. The cave hyena, said to not be in that area, but it is. I mean, they ran around all over North America. We get reports of hyenas like all the time. I mean, it happens. People see these things. I know that there are weird things too, though. Like when we did the show about haunted, or it was Supernatural Sin City, Las Vegas. We got reports out of Prim of a guy who pulled over to the side of the road to take a urinate, whatever. And something launched itself out of the darkness at him. And this guy told me, he says, it was a saber-toothed tiger. I was like, a saber-toothed cat? He said, yes, an absolute saber-toothed tiger jumped out at me. But as it was about to land on me, he goes, I just curled up. I felt it was like wind. There was nothing there. So if that report is to be believed, and there are others like it, is this a ghost, or is it something coming out of a portal that's not manifesting itself? You doing what you do, Nick, what would you say? I know what I believe, but what do you believe?
Well, I got to agree with you on it. It's something that probably came out of a portal, and it was going from one dimension to another dimension. Now, years ago, I would never think that way, but with all the reports I've taken over the years, over the past 10 years or so, and it just seems like, how can footprints from a Sasquatch suddenly end in the middle of a field? Where did they go? They don't backtrack. There's no trees around it. I mean, how many times has that been found and proven? I mean, I've seen for myself Dogman tracks that ended, and Dogman claw marks on a tree. It just went up so far. We had a guy that used to climb the tree for us all the way to the top. No problem. And he's like, that's it. It stopped right here. And we searched all the surrounding trees, and there was no more claw marks. So where did it go? They had to do something. I'm thinking they possibly, excuse me, they had to possibly go to a certain point. That's where they were searching for, a certain point. And it might be a dimensional jump. It's so possible. I mean, like I said, the scientists, real life scientists of today, and these aren't science fiction scientists, real scientists, have said that there are 11 different dimensions. So it's possible that they have the the technique to go from dimension to dimension. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, they do.
Josh Cutchins has the Bigfoot phenomena where the footprints
With the footprints end.
where the footprints end. Ours is the Bigfoot phenomena, but
Right.
it's just different encounters. But what his book, it goes into the whole, like what this thing is, like going into the middle of a field and vanishing. Why do the footprints end like that? I wonder about that. I wonder about a lot of things, but this is really something that I've put a lot of thought into, and how these things just sort of like they're walking, and then next thing you know, they look blurry, and then they're gone from our vision. What do you think that blurriness is, Nick?
I think that's probably the power consumption, in order to enable them to jump to the dimension. Because I've taken so many reports where people are telling me that they saw a Sasquatch, and then suddenly it turned, I don't want to say opaque, but it's like it was part see-through, part leaves. And then suddenly, it was camouflaged. And then suddenly, poof, it's gone. And there's nothing there. There's nothing there anymore. There's no leaf-like, picture. There's nothing else. They could just see straight through where it was. And how many times I've taken the same report from people throughout the country and in Australia also. I have a couple of reports where they saw the same thing. If you can understand what I'm saying, it's like, somebody's out there in a camouflage, uniform of white and green, and then suddenly, poof, it's gone. And then you're just seeing dead air, empty space there. There's just nothing else around. There's no trees. There's no bushes, no nothing. It's gone. It's just simply gone. Now, I personally have not seen a Sasquatch yet. Wouldn't mind. I've tried to on several occasions, going to different places with different people. Might have to get together with Greg Yost and one of these days and see if I can. But it's just simply amazing what these people report. And Josh, it's the same thing every time. And it's people from different parts of the country that have reported that same exact phenomena, that they're like opaque and then suddenly, poof, it's gone. So there's something going on with that. You know how many reports of Bigfoot and Dogman that, I get, and then different organizations get every year? And I mean, these people don't want anything. Most of the time, they're just saying, look, I want to give the report, and that's it. I can tell you my general area. Maybe sometimes they'll tell us the town. They don't want to make any money off of it. They don't want any fame off of it. They just want to report, hey, look, I want to get this off my chest. This is what I found. Sometimes they want to be consoled, because they're like, it changed my life, and I don't want to go down that road anymore. I don't want to go to this town anymore. I don't want to go, to that place anymore. Some people just don't go out into the woods anymore. I mean, with my teams, we used to go 20, 26 miles into a wooded area, and then hike back out. Most people will go maybe a few hundred feet into a wooded area, and that'll be the end of it. So that's another reason why I'm having trouble getting team members for the IDP in North Carolina.
Do you think that it has everything to do with the fear, or is it just laziness? Could it be laziness? I mean,
I think it's fear, because I was out, like I said, I was out one night with 8 volunteers. We were going over fieldcraft and everything, how to put your tent up. We were putting out little tripwires with flares. I put out tripwires with bells on them. We have different layers of security, and a couple of guys were saying, well, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? I said, well, you never know. What do you mean you never know? I said, well, you did join a group with the understanding that we do go out and we search out reports of cryptids in an area, and we want to photograph, and we want to take casts of any sort of evidence. We were going over that. We were going over how to make an in-ground stove, so you won't have a lot of A lot of smoke going off. Some of these guys didn't even know how to do that. Had to correct some of the fellows how to properly walk through the woods carrying a rifle. You know, you don't want anybody to flare you with their rifle, you know, if you're turning. I mean, that's a big thing I found out. But yeah, one night we were hearing howls in the distance. It wasn't close to us, but you can clearly hear howls. And, you know, the only thing in North Carolina were red wolves, and they're usually on the eastern coast. And here we were up northwest, north central. And, you know, the guys are just spooked. They wanted to leave right then and there. And I'm like, hey guys, we're like a good 10 miles out from where we left the cars. We can't be backtracking at nighttime. It's not safe to backtrack at nighttime as it is.
Mhm.
You know, they were in too much of a rush to get out of there. This was just north of where Sparta, North Carolina is. And like I said, it's the Blue Ridge Mountains are over there.
And in your experience, when you've gone out into the field, I mean, you've only seen something one time. Like I mean, like other than like, you know, a couple of oddball.
Couple oddball experiences, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, seeing at a corner of my eye, and I don't know what my third one was. I can't explain it yet, but my first full on one, you know, that I know what I saw, and I don't care what anybody tells me. It's
So those of people who haven't heard it, can you tell it tonight?
No, sure. I worked for a PMC company that was based out of New Jersey. And we had just gone through 3 days of training, and it's a constant training. You may get an hour or 2 hours of sleep. You go back to your headquarters to eat, or you eat out in the field. I was kind of tired. It was the last night. I was going home on Route 22. I passed through Mountainside, and instead of going straight on Route 22 west, I decided to take a shortcut and go up through the Watchung Reservation. Now, mind you, I grew up in this area. I knew the areas very well. So I figured instead of going in a circular route to get home, I figured I'm going to go up and over the mountain. And it would save me about a good 20 minutes because I was really tired. Before I get to it later on, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I always carry a firearm coming home because I'm licensed to, and I had bear spray. So I'm in my Jeep. I go straight up the mountain. I hit the Watchung Reservation. Watchung Reservation at the top is a large oval, and they had taken down a lot of trees in that area to make it habitable for people to have picnics in the center. Now, to the outskirts of the oval are heavy forest area. There's also a lake there that goes through the area. I'm coming around the oval, and it's dark. They don't have street lights. I've got about 500,000 candle power of lights on the Jeep, and I was just lighting up the roadway so I could see things. And I see off in a distance a small bicycle up against a stop sign. And I just thought it was odd. And then as I keep approaching the stop sign, as I'm going around the oval, I see it looks to me to be a creature right by that bicycle. And as I get closer to it and closer to it, here I'm thinking it's a bear of some sort. But I'm also thinking there's a bicycle there, and it's 11:30 at night. It shouldn't be there. And I'm thinking maybe a kid, maybe a female left the bike there, but why is that creature standing there on two legs next to this bicycle? And as I got closer and closer, I stopped my Jeep I'd say about 30 feet away, and I'm lighting this thing up with 500,000, 500,000 candle power. And it was a creature that I've never seen before in my life. Now, I've studied zoology, and here I'm thinking it was a black bear, and it's not. The creature's right hand was all the way down near its knee, and it lifted what looked like to me a piece of meat up to its mouth and came down. I got out of my Jeep. I had my bear spray in my left hand. I had my Glock 10 millimeter in my right hand. And I just got out and I'm looking. I'm trying to get a better look at it instead of being through the glare that's coming off of my windshield. I'm trying to get a better look at it. And it's like nothing I've ever seen before. This thing was close to the same size as the stop sign. The stop sign was on a post. And I came back the next day, by the way, and I did measure about where I thought this creature's head was. Most stop sign posts are about 8 feet, from the ground up. And this thing was just short of that. This thing it was dark haired, short dark haired, I would say 3 inches. It had claws on the right arm that I saw. It had a wolf-like face and it had ears that stuck up. And like I said, the whole thing was about 1 minute and 10 seconds, as I recall. And its hand did come from the side up to its mouth. Now, something I want to mention is that it had totally ignored me. It was like I never existed. It was looking off to its left-hand side out into the forest area. After a little while, it walked away. And people tell me, oh, it could have been paranormal. Well, paranormal creatures like ghosts don't make noise like this. I heard the crunch on the leaves. I heard the twigs breaking. Now, I didn't try to approach it. It didn't try to approach me. I didn't try to approach it. So it just walked off. And that was it. Now, something I want to mention is that off into the distance where it was walking, I did notice I want to say a saucer-like, but an oval-like object in the sky, a whitish type light in the sky. It was walking towards that. Now, that would be important many, many years later, because I did a study on the seeing a cryptid, specifically Dogman or Sasquatch, and seeing lights or orbs in the sky. But that was my first time that I ever saw something like a creature like this. This thing was over 7 feet tall. I thought it was a black bear at first, and then as I got out of the car, I'm looking at it. No, it had a wolf-like face. It's nothing I had ever seen. Now, this was in 2013, and it took me quite a while to look up and investigate and find out exactly what this thing was. Because here I'm thinking, werewolf? Werewolves are usually about the same size as the human that it came from. Maybe an inch or two taller. But this looked nothing like a werewolf. This thing had claws, and this thing had muscle. And I did notice a scent coming from it. It smelled like blood and urine mixed together. And it was just such an odd thing. But it never looked at me. Never looked at me. It totally ignored me. And that's it. From that day forward, I've been investigating Dogman, appearances, and anytime anybody had something to tell me about it, I'd listen, and I try to call them up and speak with them on the phone. I'd much prefer to do video, on Facebook video with them. But we've also investigated with my team, just under 100 of these cases over the years. We've gone to different states to check this out. But this is not something you really want to see.
You said a couple things here. I want to break this down. You said that you don't think it was something paranormal. My idea of paranormal is all of this. It's just because it's out of the realm of normal, so I don't really count that as paranormal. But
if that's how you think about it,
though, but you also said that and I'm not arguing with you, but this is something we've talked about before. But that ghosts, they do make noise. And I personally have fielded a lot of ghost reports because I do this. I do both. I do all of it. And I fielded a lot of UFO reports. Most of the stuff UFO I don't talk about is usually the alien abduction that we focus on as well, the abduction itself. But these beings, though, they do make noise. That's the thing. But you're pretty sure, though, that it's, in your opinion, that wasn't a spiritual thing at all. right?
This thing took a bite, and I found out later that it was part of a deer carcass. So, what does the spirit need to be eating?
Yeah.
And while I agree with you, yeah, ghosts do make noise. They make noise themselves, not stepping on leaves and twigs.
Well,
and
they do
dropping
that
it on
too.
the way. What's that?
They do that too. They do make noise. I mean, I've gotten lots of reports of people seeing ghosts. Civil War soldiers,
Uh-huh.
Native Americans, Spaniards, all over Devil's Backbone, and they actually do make noise. People heard. Well, okay, I went hunting with a guy years ago. It was hog hunting, and that's all growed up out there. And I'll tell you a story. This is so. I don't think I've ever told you this one, Nick. We've spent hours talking, but I don't think I've ever told you this one. And maybe I told the audience this one. I don't know. But I went out near the Devil's Backbone. This guy owned some land out there, and so there was a guy named Corey. We were good friends, and this guy he talked me into going out there and going hunting. I wanted to bag a hog. I wanted the tusks, and not because I like to go hunting and just to destroy animals. I'm not that guy. Hogs, in my opinion, in Texas are really, really bad. I mean, they're trouble. You see deer all the time with broken legs because of the divots that these hogs create, and then they destroy cattle. They mess up your livestock's legs too,
Right.
and then they do untold damage to crops, and they will kill your pets, and they'll even kill people.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not. I don't like them. I don't have any love for them. Although I do have a pig named Troubles, and the way that happened was at a bull riding event. He just ended up being with us, kind of a stowaway, and he just stayed with us. But I have gone out there and I went hunting, and I had my dog with me. And as long as we were downwind, he's a great dog. He got down. He was real. You remember Ivan, Anthony?
Yeah.
Best dog I ever had. I've loved a lot of dogs, but that dog was the most disciplined, most well-trained, it was an English Mastiff. And so he was with me. And I refused to go out into the bush without him. I was like, I'm not going anywhere without my dog. He says, well, as long as he's downwind, because otherwise the hogs will be spooked. And I said, well, if I get something, I get something. If I don't, I don't. So about 2 a.m, I decided to head back to the truck, and it was about a 1.5 mile walk. And I had my rifle there, 22-250. I was walking back, and I had a couple other rifles too that I carried with me. And so when you got dropped off, and I was supposed to stay there until close to the morning, but it got too cold. And so I started walking back, and I had 2 rifles in tow, 30-06 and 22-50, and I had and it was deer season too. So, if you see a stag, take it. But I was there for hogs. And we ended up, me and the dog, going back to the truck. Well, I didn't have a key to get in. So I got in the back of his dually and I went to sleep. Had a sleeping bag and I went right in and just crashed out. It was a long day. It was a Friday. I remember that. And about 3 a.m., in fact, I knew exactly what time it was. It was like 3:01. I looked at my watch and it was like, whatever. And I said, dude, it's got to be noise coming from something that's walking around the truck. I heard gravel, like there was gravel there where you park. And it was like a gravel road that kind of just petered off into mud. And so it just kept happening. Crunch, 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 all the way around the truck and around the other side. And my dog was whimpering, but he didn't lift his head. I just kept him. I held onto his collar. He had a big spike collar, and it was starting to dig into my hand. I remember. And I told him, I said, just stay put, So I did have a 45 pistol, and I got up, looked over the side of the truck, crawled to the other side, looked, didn't see anything. Nothing was down there. Now, there could have been something under the truck. So I was going to have to get out. When I got out, I jumped out the back. I didn't even lower the tailgate. I just jumped out the back. I was in my 20s. I was a young guy, a lot more spry than I am now. And I looked under the truck, took a flashlight. Nothing was under there. I saw the impression of footfall. Not humongous feet either, but just, something had made an indentation into the gravel. The gravel was kind of thick right there where we parked. So I walked around the other side, and getting into that gravel was kind of like hard going. A spirit had to have made that noise. It had to have crunched that gravel and then gone off into the bush and made more noise because I heard crunching of leaves. So I went to where this was, and I didn't see anything. All this took about 5 or 6 minutes, and I was done. But it was crazy because like I know something made that noise, and my dog did too. My dog couldn't stop growling, and when I went and laid back down, I just kind of had my hands like that on my, and just was looking up at the stars, and the dog just would not stop whining, would not stop growling, kept getting up, looking around. I kept pulling him back down, telling him just ignore it. It happened to me another time too when we were working at a place called Colorado Crossing. And that area there, we had somebody who claimed to have seen a Bigfoot in that area. But something walked around my truck, just like footfall on the pavement. I could hear it on the asphalt. It was pretty new. And it was still a little bit loose. And I could hear it walking around and around, and I didn't see it. But then I saw the bush move. So it was invisible, completely invisible to me, whatever it was. And at the time I posted it on Facebook, I'm like, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and I just had this encounter with something invisible, spiritual. It had to be, or it could be that these things move around, like you said, interdimensionally, and we interact with them, and there is so much happening. Like being out in the ocean, you're out there swimming, and especially if you go out into like say you're out in Padre or Mustang or what's it called. Port Aransas.
Yeah.
You'll go out there and you go about 50 yards out, man, and those sharks are all over the place out there.
Oh.
They're going right by you. Like I saw a black tip just go right by me real quick. I was like, I'm good. And I just waded back at, because right out there right now, I think the world record is a tiger shark that they caught. And it was like 16 foot. Big, humongous thing. A half a ton, like it was like 1,200 pounds or some ridiculous 1,300 something. It was a ridiculous fish. And so you don't want to be out there, but it's all around you. You just don't see it. And ignorance is truly bliss. You're having a good time boogie boarding, which I've done, and I know it's dangerous because there's bull sharks, especially near the pier. And I've swam all through that area, and I know that there's fish out there that could kill you and eat you real quick. And you just try to not think about it, but it's there. The spirit world is very much the same to me. It's all around us at all times, and you try not to think about it, but it's there. Now, I'm not arguing and saying what you saw, because what I saw looked really physical. And I believed it was physical until December of 2019. The reason that particular day was pivotal for me is because my friend's brother was my friend too, but just to clarify, the guy that I first saw the Dogman with, he saw it too, but he saw it at the house. Now, his brother told me and Anthony right there at the house that he was working on, and that house was haunted. We heard noise. We heard the sawhorses fall. The guy had taken his own life, and it was always known that house was haunted, and he was talking about it. And he said, well, it's not as scary as what we saw that night. He started talking directly to Anthony about it. And like it was a foregone conclusion, he brought up that there was this black vapor coming out the back of its neck. And I'm like, what? I told him, I was like, I don't remember you ever telling me that. He goes, well, you never asked. And that's a fact. I had not asked him because I thought we all just saw the same thing. But he saw something different. His younger brother did too. They got a good look at it by the window, and they were only a few feet from it. They were actually closer than I got to it, except they were looking at it through the window. So having a little 2 inches of glass or inch and a half of glass, whatever it is a thick window, but still, it gives you a little bit of comfort saying, oh, well, it has to go through this window, like it's some sort of force shield,
No.
Yeah, exactly. You and I know that, but the average person gets a little bit of comfort being inside of their car, right? Yeah. But what you saw, so you're convinced that it was a physical thing. But
well, remember, Josh, you and I did talk about it, and then you were telling me the same thing about it possibly could be a paranormal thing. And then I reopened my investigation because it was many, many years later that we were talking about this. And I found out that the Lenape Indians inhabited that area and that there was a Lenape burial ground in that area. So, I mean, Dogman, over all the investigations that I've done about it, looking in newspaper reports, old books, and I mean old books by, I'm talking about the 1800s. They even admit right there that the Dogman actually guard Native American burial grounds. It's quite possible. So, like I said, my thought process has changed, over the year as to what it could be and why it could be, and like I said, also with the dimension hopping type of thing. And you don't know what we call a ghost could very well be something from another dimension, and people are actually saying that it's a ghost instead. I don't want to use the word paranormal because you use it in a different respect than I do. You consider cryptids to be paranormal. Yeah, well, the silverback gorilla, the panda bear, the Komodo dragon, they were all considered to be cryptids, and I don't want to say they were paranormal. I mean, it took a long time to find them, but they did find them, and we, discovered them, and now they're in the zoology books today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the way Wolf uses it and the way you uh, use it, Nick, are, I mean, they're kind of interchangeable, because what we're talking about here is something that's not just an animal, something that does um, something that travels in a way that any other animal is just not going to do. Like what is going to just walk out of a portal? I mean, whether it's like interdimensional, metaphysical, paranormal. I mean, it whatever it is, it's beyond our ability to explain.
Yes. That's what makes cryptozoology so much fun, to do, at least for me. I mean, I know when we were out camping that last night when I had 8 people, 8 volunteers, that was the last time I had 8 over here in North Carolina, up in good old Sparta, North Carolina. And we started hearing howls and deep throaty howls. One guy goes, "Oh, it must be a bunch of wolves." I go, "Yeah, but they have red wolves on the eastern coast. Not that you couldn't have one, but it sounded like quite a few, and it was deep throaty howls. And I've heard wolves howl before, and it sounded a bit different, than your normal everyday red wolf. So it was like, wow, this is really something else." And I told them, "Listen, as long as our perimeter alarms haven't gone off and we have a nice big fire here and we post 2 guards, while everybody else is resting." Well, needless to say, 4 of those guys did not get any rest that night. And the very next day they said, "Listen, we're still members of your group. We're going to be researchers."
Yeah.
And the difference between a researcher and a field investigator is that the researcher goes to libraries, looks through books, newspaper reports, the internet,
Parts of people.
stays safely behind, the walls in their home near their computer.
Yeah.
And a field investigator will actually go out there and investigate any reports that we can get to anyway. Sometimes the reports are too far off. Like in Indiana, I got some reports, and I can't get up there at this time. I mean, I would love to. I don't have a team to take up, and as I've told Josh in the past, I like to go out with a team, a total team of 7 minimum, and it's generally 7 guys, and we've all worked together. And I personally, I don't have that right now, and I just can't wait till Jay Fountain and Gary Spikes moves down here. I bet you the minute those 2 guys move down here, team participation will just increase exponentially. Absolutely have that feeling, because Jay is fearless, and Gary, he just doesn't care. He's an ex-Ranger, and he doesn't care. He'll go out there.
Yeah, you got to do it smart and surround yourself with the right people. People who know what they're doing.
You really do have to be smart out there, because we've come across people where one of the ladies was leaning on a tree and she got bit by a big wolf spider. And where that won't kill you, it's still going to be uncomfortable, and
you're still stuck out there with that while you're.
Yeah. I mean, we carry first aid kits and stuff, so our team came upon this group and we helped her out. Another time we came upon a fellow that got bitten by a snake. He couldn't identify it. We did identify the bite, though, and it wasn't poisonous, but nonetheless, they got him to the hospital. You get bit by a rattler, it might be a baby rattler, a teenager. and you might be able to get bit by a diamondback. Well, that's another problem in itself. You probably won't last, because most people are going to panic. They're out in the woods. They just got bit by a snake, and now they're in a panic, which is one reason why we wear gaiters over our boots. We wear combat boots, yes, but we wear gaiters made out of Kevlar, and it comes right just below your knee. Now, people might say, boy, you got a lot of equipment, a lot of stuff on. Isn't it uncomfortable? Well, getting bit by something and dying.
A lot more uncomfortable.
Yeah, in the woods is a lot more uncomfortable. I mean, we're out there to have fun, to make, whatever, to see whatever we can find, take pictures of footprints. If we find scat out there, we want to identify it. Sometimes there's an unidentifiable scat. And you kind of wonder, geez, was that Dogman? Or I don't want to come across a Sasquatch scat that the Sasquatch was about 10 feet tall and 1,000 pounds. I mean, my God, the odor from that movie and the size would be like elephantine.
So, Nick, I have a hypothetical question for you. So let's say that y'all have your encampment set up for the night, and one or more of your perimeter alarms of these different systems that you have set up for security goes off.
Right.
And it does happen to be some sort of unexplainable cryptid. What's the first response? Like, what would y'all immediately do? Like, first things first. Like, how do you respond to that? Because you have a responsibility to keep your people safe, even and they're out there at your behest, even at the cost of your own life potentially. You would have to keep them safe.
You're definitely right. That's our number one thing, being safe out there. But to answer your question, we always have two people, not one, two people up at all times. And usually we have 7 people out there. We might have more, but it's never less than 7. I don't like to go out there with less than 7. So we'll have 2 people up, and every 3 hours we'll change the guard. Now, if the perimeter alarm did go off, if it was one of the loud perimeter alarms, which is a short type of, I don't know if people know what this is. It's like a shotgun shell, a shorty, and it's made for this in particular. And a flare goes up, plus you have a loud bang. Okay, now if that doesn't wake the people in the tent who are sleeping up, what one of the guys, this is already prearranged, what one of the guards does is he goes to one tent, and there's usually 2 people to a tent, goes to that one tent, wakes those 2 up, goes back on guard duty to guard the rest of the camp. Those 2 guys get up. Now you're sleeping with your boots on, and your firearms are right near you. They get jocked up, they come right out. And this has happened in the past, by the way. This has happened to us, so we put this into practice. One of the guys joins the guard, so that you now have 3 guys guarding the camp. The other guy goes and wakes up everybody else. So at least we have all 7 up. So it doesn't matter if you got your sleep interrupted. Like you said, safety first. And we're doing a 360 perimeter, and we might send 3 guys out, to that one area to find out what set that alarm off. We'll have one perimeter alarm about 12 inches off the ground, and the next one about 3 feet back, and that'll be 18 inches off the ground. And we have that all measured out. And if something's stepping, it's going to hit one of them, one or the other. So at least we know what's going on. I've got I wish I had it here now with me. I think I have it the other end of the office. It's a really cool alarm. It's something that you can probably get off Amazon. It's are we on video also?
Yeah. We're on video right now.
Well, just with my fingers. It's about the size of a quarter, and you pull a little pin that has a circle on it, and this thing lets out like a 170 decibel sound. So we got those set up where what we use is paracord. We'll tie it around the tree, and then we'll tie it around the loop that's on the alarm. And I'm going to tell you, you can hear this thing for, God, a good 1,000 feet away, when it goes off.
Yeah.
So it's generally going to let everybody know. I personally like the perimeter alarm that does a loud bang and a flare, because it lets us know exactly where the alarm went off. So, like you're right, safety first. Everybody's got to get up, but that's how it works. The one guard wakes up the first tent with 2 people. One guy goes to guard. One guy goes to wake everybody else up, and it works very well. But that's what people need to do. They need to prep when they're doing these things. They need to prep.
All right. Nick, just 1 second. We're going to have to pause real quick. All right. Just give me 1 second. All right.
Sure.
We'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Okay. I was
Try
just
to
reading.
minimize those things, but interruptions happen with work and stuff. We just have to deal with it.
Yeah. But,
Right.
we always go not to an extreme. We safety first, like I said. And, you have a right to go into the woods and come back home safely, which is
Mhm.
why we carry, bear spray. We carry, like Josh mentioned, I do carry salt, the white salt, the black salt, the holy water. You never know what you're going to come across. And, you're allowed to go into the woods and then come back out safely. And if you have to defend yourself, you have to defend yourself. We don't go in there with the mindset that we're going to shoot something. That's the last thing we want to do. We're going to hit whatever it is with pepper spray. God forbid we come across an alien that looks like, the aliens that they have on television and everything. We're going to pepper spray it first. see how that works on them. And then after that, I'll throw an electronic flashbang at them. One of these things. I don't know if you can see it over there.
Yeah, we can see you. You're on video. I remember you bringing one of those. I don't know if it was one of those exactly, but
There it
dang,
goes. You just heard it, right?
yeah,
Here's how loud it is. I cut it off. Whoa.
Ooh, dang, that's loud.
The
Stabbing my
disarmament thing is
eardrums
kinda
over
hard.
here.
But you know what? See, we each carry 2 of these, and you
Mhm.
toss it. And I'm figuring if it is an alien, maybe it'll disrupt them. If it is a Dogman, a Sasquatch, maybe it'll disrupt it. If it's a mountain lion or a bear, maybe it'll disrupt it. Just give us 3 seconds. Give me that much time to prepare to pull something else out to use.
Yeah, that precious time will save your life. I remember you bringing one of those to the first conference, and you were going to set
Yeah.
it off in the as part of your presentation, but then we had to think better of it in case anyone might have epilepsy.
Yeah. But
But
the
yeah,
flash.
I see why. It's extremely bright
Mhm.
and loud.
Yeah. I mean, so might as well be prepared, and you have fun while you're out there. You might discover something, and the things that we've discovered over the years have only brought more questions to mind. It's just like, oh my gosh, where did that thing go?
You okay?
Just dealing with work.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I had to step away.
Hey, we were just talking about the different security measures, equipment, and responses that they employ out there when they're in the field.
Did you tell Josh about? I just set it off.
Oh yeah.
What happened?
You didn't have your eardrums blown out by that electronic flashbang that he had.
He did a flashbang.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he do one a demonstration at the?
No,
conference?
he was going to, but
Okay.
but then, yeah, we figured it might be a safety issue for people.
Yeah, Josh, if you can see it, this is what I set off.
Wow. Are you going to do it again?
No, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to do it again. I was like,
no, the decibel level on this is extremely high, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess it would piss off an alien or Sasquatch or whatever. But like I said, everybody carries two of these. And when I gave my presentation to my volunteers where I was trying to train, they were all like, "Oh, cool! Do we get one?" I go, "No, you get two of those." But like I said, 4 down and four people left. Yep, cryptozoology is an interesting thing to do. You just have to keep an open mind to the possibilities. And like I was telling Anthony, years ago, the Komodo dragon and silverback gorilla and even the koala bear were all considered to be cryptids, and they're not today. It's just finding it sooner or later and having them come out. But I can imagine if we do find a community of Bigfoot. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not going to be acceptable. Not to most people.
We just had an incident at one of our sites, which is interesting. Somebody working at one of our construction posts actually just said that they saw something unidentified walk through the property. And I'm waiting to hear back from the camera company if they had a shot of it, because they said it wasn't human.
That'd be nice.
So I just was kind of taking that report, but I was dealing with something else when that came in. So who knows?
Did he say
We
how
do
big it
have
was?
something. Do what? What happened?
Did he say how big the thing was?
The size of a large dog. And we have a site that has had problems with black dogs, real dogs. They're dogs. There's a pack of them. And but one of them is like really large. Nobody can seem to agree on what kind of dog it is or how large it is. The other day when me and Anthony went there, the night when we went through there, the guard on duty told us that the dog had tried to attack him, and it chased him back to the car.
Yeah.
And he got into the car and got away from it, but started to claim that he was going to basically incapacitate it in some form or another, and give me all kinds of different stuff he was going to do. And I said, okay, if your life is in danger, but don't get hurt trying to mess with that, because if you get back out and you start trying to fight with it, it's not like the movies. I've handled dogs and they can be slippery. And so he was talking about he was going to do this and do that. And I said, whatever you got to do. But, so he called the police. The police came. They didn't see it. They didn't find it. The dogs, it's weird because there's a people that live out there close to this, and they say that they have 2. But the numbers of dogs that come on, there's about 5 different ones we've identified. And so I told this guy, I said, it's probably a dog. He said it didn't look like a dog. So we'll see. And the thing is, too, a lot of these people, they don't care about our show. They work for us. They're like, oh, yeah, you got a show about it. They don't even watch it. And then some people do, and they're afraid. So I told them, don't watch it and then be on post and be afraid. Because then we had a guy work for us. God rest his soul. He passed away a few years ago, but he worked for us for several years. Probably I think it was almost 10. It was 9 years, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he worked for us for 9 years. And he was a veteran guard. He was a tough guy. He was a veteran. He was a Marine. And he got so scared one time on post that he left. And that place was really out in the middle of nowhere at that time. Now, years later, and he's been gone for about 3 or 4 years now. And then he stopped working for us for about 2 years before he passed away. And so say 11, for about 15 years ago, when we first started working with us, he left post because he got so scared because of something that was out there. My brother subsequently worked there, and he said, hey, there is something out here. I don't know what it is, but it makes a lot of noise. And so I worked out there one night. Nothing happened. But then I worked another night, and something did happen. So I guess it's the luck of the draw. I don't know. But we ended up living out there in that area. That's now not as wild as it was then 15 years ago. Now it's like growed up and there's stuff everywhere. There's a neighborhood back in there that's gotten bigger, and I remember working out there when they were first building those houses. And that's going to be interesting on Sunday when we talk about some of these neighborhoods where people are seeing these dogman creatures. I remember working all these neighborhoods when they were building this stuff. One of them off of 620, there was a place, there was a retirement community they built. And I remember thinking I was having another encounter. Something was following me around the perimeter of the woods. The thing about that, though, when I looked at a map, like a Google Maps, I could see like the distance between that neighborhood on the edge of, I guess, Round Rock going into Cedar Park. And that was two distinct places. Now it's like one big place. And that neighborhood was not there. The guy used to live there in the house that he lived in. He's 10 years younger than me. But and I can talk about this part of it because it's not, I mean, we can rehash it on Sunday, but there is that neighborhood now is completely changed. They bought up the 4 or 5 lots that were out there that had houses on them, and they turned it into tract housing. And so now there's a subdivision out there that's been out there since 2012, I think, 10, 11 was when he was out there last. And then he sold out in like 11. And then by 12, they were already building other stuff. And then another year, and was already a house where he was at. And so his house is gone from where he used to live. But that neighborhood was full of activity. And I remember there were only a few lots back there that were habitated at that time. And now there's a whole subdivision out there. But back, it grew so fast, all this area. But back then, there wasn't nothing but woods out there. And they were clearing it, and they were buying up those people's lots so they could put tract housing on it. And when we were talking, he said he drives through there now, and he goes, I can still feel it. It's on the land, whatever it is. But like we talked about, there are caverns. And the caverns wouldn't be very far from where he was living back up in there. Several miles maybe to the north was where that entrance was into that pasture. And you got to wonder, if these beings are, inner earth dwellers, if that is what they are, that's where they're coming from. Do they travel like we do, or do they just pop in and out of reality? That's the key. Because there was a Bigfoot report I got of somebody right there on 620. They were pulling out of the hospital like 10 years ago. It's not that long ago. You think about it, it's 2014, so it's like 11 years. And this person, she pulled out, her husband was getting out of the ER, getting released. He had the flu. And she pulled out on the 620, and there was traffic coming and going, but there was a lull right there. And she sees this, what looked like a large hairy man squatted down on one knee, take off running with his arms at its side, like moving, like a man runs. And she said it was about 7.5 foot tall, hairy, bipedal, ape-like creature. No snout. She didn't report that. But right there at the hospital, right there across from the hospital, there was a Bigfoot. So it doesn't surprise me. I had a guy give me a report of a hotel. He was up in a hotel up in North Texas, right outside of Tyler. All right, it was in Tyler. So he's in Tyler, Texas, not Taylor, not where I'm from, Tyler, in Northeast Texas. And he said he was posted up there at a hotel. He got him a hotel room, or a motel, I guess, and he drives a big truck. Well, he had taken the truck and dropped it off to where he needed to go, got his vehicle and drove back. And he was tired because I couldn't make it. I had 4 more hours. I was tired trying to get down to Houston, and I'd been driving for an hour. So I guess, whatever. He was exhausted. So he decided to stay. He says, dude, I'm going to sleep. I'm taking off my shirt. I'm throwing my change, everything on the dresser. He's like, I had a ticket to something. I don't remember what it was. He goes, and I was dead on my feet until I saw this wolf-headed being sitting, like in a runner's position, almost like it was hunched over. And he said one hand was on the ground. He said hand. That's what did it. It was a gray being, he said, and it was sitting there at the edge of the woods looking up at him because it knew that he was looking at it. He said nothing else happened. It didn't do anything. It just came off of the curb, like it stood up, came off of the curb, and then walked bipedally back into the woods. The impression that he got, and I wanted to tell you this one, Nick, the impression that this guy got was that it was native. It was some sort of Native American thing. He couldn't say what exactly, but he felt it. And he himself is a quarter, so he thought, you know what, maybe I'm in tune with it. I don't know. He's like, but it was weird. He goes, years later, like 2017, he said that a friend of his was driving a truck down in South Texas near Eagle Pass. And he saw something very similar to that and told him about it. And he told the friend what he saw. And he told me, he said, there's no way to know exactly what that was. He's like, other than to listen to other people's reports. He said, dude, I had a phone. I took a picture of the area, but it turned and was gone. So all you got was this picture of nothing. But he said there was a fog or a haze in the air. He remembers that. Now, the night you saw what you saw, was there a fog? Was there haze? Was there anything at all?
No, it was a clear night.
Yeah.
It was a clear night in September. It was not bad at all.
Yeah, and I believe this was in like April when he saw what he saw. Interesting, clear weather for the most part, but he said then there was this fog. Why? Who knows? Wasn't cold, wasn't hot. It was just there. You get these reports, and when you get these reports, do you ever get anything with like green haze around them? Do you ever hear anything like that?
Not a green haze, but generally, when I do get it, I do ask them about the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there is fog, and when they do tell me there was fog on the roadway, like I said, I differentiate between an encounter and a sighting. A sighting is fleeting. An encounter is, maybe 10 seconds or so you're staring at each other. They come out, they're going down the roadway, and there's a dogman, on fours on the side of the road, stands up and walks away. There's an encounter. But in reference to the fog, that's why I asked the people, are you sure? Are you sure this was a dogman? It was not a bear? And, they to a person have said, no, it's not a bear, because we know what a bear looks like. A black bear will stand up to sniff, but its arms are a lot shorter, and the way it walks is a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
So I do go through a slew of questions if they'll answer them, and that's where we take it from there, Josh, to see whether it's something that we can, well, in the past anyway, if it was something that we can get to and investigate, if it was worthwhile.
You get more Dogman reports. Obviously, you're the International Dogman Project, but do you get quite a bit of Bigfoot reports too? Maybe Dogman, Bigfoot in the same area.
I do get Bigfoot reports because, like I said, we do all the cryptids. I mean, I got a lizard man report a few months back, down south in Louisiana area. But I do get, to answer your question, yes, I do get Bigfoot reports. Washington State, Oregon. I got one strange. It came from Michigan. Let's see. I got a Gugway report up in Canada, Nova Scotia. I guess that's part of Canada, right? So it's actually, I get reports coming, from all over the place, throughout the world. People just want to report it and have it put down, on paper that they reported it.
So the reports that you got coming out of the fires in California, let me ask you a question about that. I'm really curious about that. You said there were 103. What does the basic report look like? What are they saying? Are these things burned up? Do they look like they've been on fire?
No, they said no. Basically, the reports are that they saw them, moving away from where the fires were. I had a report from one of the military forts down there. It was a lieutenant, and he said that he was out on a training patrol with his men, and that he did see a bipedal wolf-like creature. And this thing was maybe 200 feet away from where he was stationed. A master sergeant from the same fort, about a week later, sent me a message. And I asked him, I said, did you speak to the lieutenant about this? He knew who the lieutenant was, but no, he didn't speak to him about this. This was another one. It was outside the fort, but they were traveling. They were moving. They weren't stationary. They were traveling. That's what most of these reports are, Josh. They were traveling, and the direction of travel, I put it on pins on a map. The direction of travel is away from the fires. So, like you said, practically everything does not like fire.
Yeah, I'd say that's very correct. That's to me, that's interesting, because whether or not you believe that it is a flesh and blood thing or a spiritual thing, I think it's both. I think that they do both. I think that they can be both. But it's true, though, they don't like fire. And of course, what does everybody fear? They feel hell, because why? Hell is full of fire. It just stands to reason that these things are going to move away from where the fire's at. But some people really believe that these things are completely flesh and blood, but they also believe that they're impervious to things like fire. I know that we've discussed this on the show about these things being impervious to cold or heat because they don't really care what the weather's like. People can be walking in the pouring rain and they'll see them. People see them in England. Paul Sinclair is one of the people who researches it, Truth Proof, good show. He's kind of like your counterpart over in England. I'd like to get you and him on the show at the same time. That'd be interesting.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it would be. But he sleeps on a different schedule than us. But, interesting too, that people see them in Australia. And I had an Australian Yowie researcher who was very good at what he did, but he was very adamant. I don't get along with the guy because he's very arrogant. I'm not going to say his name. And I just quit dealing with him. He's like, you need to have me back on your show. I'm like, no, I don't. Just that simple. He doesn't leave room for argument or interpretation. It's like his way or the highway, blah, blah, blah. And he said some things in a group that we were in saying that there are no Dogman in Australia. Oh. And I told him, I said, dude, the middle of Australia is one big underground base. What are you talking about? What do you think, Nick?
Just to go back to that guy, his initials were not JK. Where was it?
No.
Because I have a member, and I got to call him a friend. He's a fellow researcher in Australia. He now uses drones, drone helicopters, and he puts out a little show here and there on YouTube every once in a while. And his first name is John. He's in Australia, and he did have an encounter with a Dogman over there. And he keeps me updated on reports over there. And every once in a while, he'll post something in the Quad Coalition of Sciences or in the IDP USA, what he's found and everything. But yes, in Australia, you do have Dogman over there. I mean, look, they have the Yowie, which is, the counterpart to the Bigfoot over here.
Yeah, and the Blue Mountains. And they talk about it a lot, but there are people who really believe that there are no encounters in Australia. But, I fielded a couple years ago before I ever had the show, when I was working on another show, and we talked to some people who had encounters out there in Australia. And I've told people before, like the middle of the country, where they say there is no water, you can't get to it if you were walking and you don't know. But it's a humongous place. It's a country, but it's also a continent. And to say that they're not there is crazy, especially if you look at all the things that have been reported in the interior. When there are people who've gone into the interior for whatever reason, they've seen some really wild things, things coming up out of the ground because they don't have to deal with people. So they're just out there running around free. They don't have to worry about something seeing them or whatever.
Two comments about Australia, though. Australia, it's like everything and anything over there wants to kill you. I mean, you go to the water, they got sharks and alligators because they imported alligators to kill the sharks, and now they have an alligator problem. But I mean, you go into the outback over there, into their forested area, and you've got like double the amount of things you got over here in the United States that want to kill you. I mean, they've got all kinds of creatures from, small insects to large creatures. So Australia is something, but something to think about. Here they got on their own, they're reporting, before any of us actually came out, before you and I ever did a podcast ever, they came out and they're talking about the Yowie out there. They're talking about Dogmen out there. How did they get them? Now, how long ago were the continents together and then they shifted and Australia went its way out there? So it's something to think about. How did they actually get out there? Another question to be answered.
What you're talking about is that they imported alligators to kill sharks? What is
Yes,
that?
yes, they did. I don't understand why they would import predators to do that. But the shark problem over there was such that, they imported alligators. Okay, well, it helped a little bit, but the problem is now they got an alligator problem. So
Well, that would make sense though, because there are already a lot of crocs in that brackish water in the in between, and bull
right.
sharks are abundant there too. There was a guy who was their version of a seal, and he got
Uh,
his arm and leg torn off. I saw him on Shark Week, and he was torn apart by a bull shark, but he lived. And but yeah, that would make sense if you wanted to get rid of sharks, in particular in the shallows or in the freshwater, which are bull sharks. They don't play well with crocs or alligators, but you don't want to import more crocs. So I
no.
guess bringing alligators are a little more docile, not much, but they're a little smaller and a little easier to deal with. Yeah, and
Saltwater alligators.
they will eat sharks. Yes, they will.
But the problem is, you're not going to lie on the beach over there because the alligator might come up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen many in my travels throughout the United States, I've seen many a golf course where they had a problem with, they had to stop going through the fifth green because there was an alligator out there and they couldn't get to their balls, So, I mean, that could be quite a problem.
Yeah. So they import these animals, that would make sense, but it's not smart regardless.
No.
They already have a dingo problem. Those aren't native there. And
Mm.
they are a nuisance animal. They've caused a lot of problems. The crocodiles are always, they're an ever present threat. And then you have the sharks, in particular bull sharks and great whites. Two very, very nasty species of shark you don't want to mess with. The beach, like you said too, I've heard of the crocs coming out of the water and grabbing people.
Yeah.
Gotten really bad with the crocs. I did not know about the alligators though, but that would make sense if you're trying to get rid of it. You're not going to want to bring more crocs. You just bring gators.
I don't know. To me, I wouldn't want to put take the. I mean, they brought them in. I saw it on television too. You can look it up on the internet. But they brought them in and they just released them on this one beach. And yeah, it helped for a while. It cleaned up some of the sharks, but the people couldn't use the beach anymore.
Yeah, because now you have something that'll come on the land.
Josh, it's like trying to go on a beach in Indonesia where they have the Komodo dragons. You're getting chased by this giant, dragon-like, creature that's going after you, and it'll sting you, which will kill you, and then knock you out, and then it'll rip you apart.
Two things I wanted to say here. First, Maddie, you had something about Gustav. Gustav was in Africa. I used to work with a guy who claimed that he saw Gustav. I don't know if that's true. He just says that he saw it submerge itself, and it was like,
is this that
30,
like
35
foot crocodile?
Yeah, the most liberal reports came out at 35 foot because they never stopped growing, and it's supposedly killed 200 people.
Wow.
The conservative estimates, they're like, oh, it was a little over 100. That's still a lot. How many that we know of? There was like 100 and something, but I mean, come on, dude. This thing has been feasting on people for decades.
Yeah.
And it's grown like 10 foot every decade. It's like a foot a year. And it just keeps growing and it just keeps getting bigger. I don't know if he's dead now or not, but they've claimed to have gotten rid of him a couple times and then he resurfaces. And they even tried doing something cute, like moving some big, large crocodiles into that area to shoo them, like get them to go. Mm-hmm. And he ate them. So, I mean, because they're cannibals too.
Okay.
So they saw Gustav like swimming around with a 12-foot croc in its mouth that actually was one of his offspring. They don't think it was ones that they brought over there, but the ones that they brought over there probably just took off and went somewhere else. They didn't see them anymore. So maybe he ate them, but more likely they just said, yeah, to hell with this 30-foot monster's over here. I'm 17 foot. One of them was 17 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it booked. It was like, you know what? I'm good. This thing's twice my size.
Not only is it long, but they're wide.
Humongous.
To look at something like this, it's like a miniature truck.
Yeah, look up Gustav, Anthony. See if there's anything to report about that. That's something that I've kept up with off and on over the years. There's another tiger out in India that supposedly they claim has killed over 50 people. He's still there. They call him Simon or Max or something like that.
How big?
The tiger, I think, is like 600 pounds. They say it's like abnormally large. And tigers typically get about, let's settle the argument about lions and tigers right now. Male lions get about 400 pounds. Male tigers, 500 pounds. That weighs by 100 pounds. So let's quit talking about which one's tougher. The male lion has one advantage. It has a bunch of females that are like its hoes. And it sicks them on whatever. It's like he's like a pimp. He's got all these females that kind of do his bidding, The tiger's sort of solitary. It's just like, well, I'm not really into hanging out with my peers, whatever. So he's kind of a loner. But he is bigger and stronger than a lion. So that is the truth. One of my friends used to have one, and he was always telling me, he won't hurt you. Get in there and play with him. I was like, no, hell no, dude. Hell no. So when I get eaten by this thing, it's nobody's fault but my own. Well, my friend said that I could be, it's devouring you. Yeah, it's your fault. He's like, well, sorry. Now I got to get rid of your body and the tiger. Wait, way to go.
So Gustav is estimated to be over 60 years old, over 20 feet and over 2,000 pounds.
I thought it was over 30 feet.
Oh, I mean, according to this article.
How many people? What's the body?
Between 200 and 300 people.
Now it's gone up. So there you go. It's gone up.
And they're not certain whether he's still alive or dead. The last official sighting was in 2015 of Gustav.
Yeah. And unless something kills him, he's going to be alive because they just keep growing. They keep living. I know that there was a boat that hit him or something and it capsized the boat and that it killed 2 or 3 of the people out of the boat. And it was bloody and messed up because the propellers had hit it. And he was still just worried about eating people. He wasn't even worried about getting hit. They claim to have shot him over 20, 30 times. And that he's still kicking. But a bullet though, and you and I both know a lot about guns, Nick, but a bullet can lodge in you, whether you're man or beast, and it could take 10, 20 years, but that thing will move a little bit. And so Gustav could just be going about his daily routine, and then one of those bullets moves. Cap moves.
Where it hit him, if it hit him here, and 10 years later, it finally hits his brain.
Yeah. As you grow, too, the bullet will move, and the cavity will expand.
I wonder if they ever hit him with a 50 cal.
Probably not, but I'm sure that 30-30 and other types of rounds have been used. Dick Richards says depth charges. I don't think the people out there they're very primitive, so they don't really have a lot of, but they have guns. But you got to remember though, the reptile is a very hardy animal. That's one of the things that scares me about these things. Like one of the reports we got of Dogman, and this was interesting, and it was out there in Lago, where the beach, where the water was. And we'll talk about it more in depth on Sunday. But there was a young lady. Well, she's not young anymore. She's like a little bit younger than me. So I can't say, hey, I'm a spry, whatever, young man. But when she was a young lady, and she got friend of mine was a bartender, used to work for me, gave me this person's information. She would stay out there at her grandparents out there in Lago. And she says her grandfather swore up and down that when the thing flooded, because it got really shallow at one point, and then it flooded, and it brought up all this stuff. So him and his brother were out looking for stuff, like, pirate treasure. They were kids, But they came across this creature that can only be described as the way I would describe it is like a reptoid version of a dogman, because it had the dogman-like snout, but it had scaly flesh with a really big whip tail that was thrashing around, and the hands and feet were webbed, but it had fur, reddish brown fur, and she swears her grandfather swore up and down when he was alive that he really saw that. He was a kid running around barefoot in the early 60s, and he saw this. So who knows if that's to be believed? I don't know, but he claimed that there were others out there that his friends had seen. But there was more than one. There was like a whole species, like a species. But they were very much reptilian. They swam around in the water and came out of these holes. And they were Dogman looking creatures. They had like a dog-like head, but the head where the fur would have been in some spots, there was just like this leathery skin. Yeah. What do you think of that, Nick?
I'm thinking that's the reports of the lizard man.
Yeah. You don't think it's a type of Dogman?
It could possibly be a type, but with the web feet, I kind of doubt that. I mean, that's not your wolf type creature, with the webbing. So I'm thinking it's a different type of creature.
What about raincoast wolves? They claim that there is a species of raincoast wolf that had evolved because they hunt in the water. Right? And if I remember correctly, they're up near British Columbia in that area. And they actually hunt bears. They'll kill and eat brown bears, which is stunning.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hell of a way to make a living. But lions have adapted to kill bachelor buffalo, which are reputedly some of the meanest animals in Africa. When I was in Africa, we were told 2 animals you don't mess with is a hippo and that. They didn't say anything about the other ones. I'm like, what about the other ones? Well, don't mess with any of them, but in particular those. I'm like, I'll be sure not to run out there and try to grab their horns. Yeah. But yeah, then they're like, yeah, then hyenas, if you're laying around, they'll come and snatch you up. I'm like, I'm not laying around. I'm not going to lay on there with a green mamba or black mamba could just roll up on you, or a hyena. People would get bit by a snake and they'd be like, well, they're going to die. I'm like, what? You can't get to the poison could work its way out, but they're going to stumble and fall behind, and they're going to be eaten by hyenas. Wow. What a way to go. Especially when you're on a train with a bunch of other people and they're like, we got guns. That's not going to help you when the train stops, because I'd seen some of these hyena, prides, but they're packs, and they got 40, 50 members. There's 20 of you. What do you think is going to happen? You think everybody in the dark is going to be able to shoot these things? I don't think so.
Not in the dark. No.
Yeah, and the benches were on the outside of the train, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. I'm climbing up high.
And I don't know how many of these people can hit something that's moving.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder. I mean, a lot of people can't hit a stationary target, no less a moving target. Come on now. Seriously.
There are people who couldn't hit somebody my size 3 foot away. I'm not even joking. They'll point a gun in that direction. I watched a video the other day of some real winners that were like, and they were shooting at each other with their heads this way, and they weren't looking, and they didn't even hit each other. Running around the parking lot at a mall. And I was like, wow. All you got to do is stop and just take a few seconds and you got your guy. But these real Einsteins were just, they were gangbanging, and they did a real good job of it. They didn't do anything but shoot at everything but each other, shot up the whole place. But it's just silly. You see these people, though, they think that this is like the movies. You're going to, and then you see like a Western, they just point the gun up there and they pull the trigger and the guy just falls off the building. It's like perfect. Yeah. Everybody dies the way they're supposed to. They fall correctly. It's not the way it is. And when you see these animals doing what they do, they don't do what you think they're going to do. I've seen somebody get their ephemeral artery exposed. Luckily for them, they didn't get it ripped by a bull. They were bull riding and they got tossed in the air and hooked. And it ripped open their flank, and then it came back and ripped open and the ephemeral artery was completely exposed. But he lived. I saw that. It happened to my cousin Donnie too, very similar, but he lived. But I didn't see it, but I saw this. I was there. I was a teenager and I watched it happen. And these guys were practicing, and I've always been into bull riding. I have gotten on a bull one time, and before they opened the chute, I thought better of it. That bull would have broke my back. I was too heavy. I said, I got to get off of this thing, because I wasn't always this big. I was always bigger, but I wasn't that big, I said, I'm not doing this. Can't do it. Over 200 pounds, you shouldn't be on that bull. The bull's going to throw you once. It's going to break your bones. And you're not a small little guy that can jump up real quick and agilely run, whatever. And that bull just looks at you as a massive target. And it's going to just smash right into you. So I just thought, I was like, nah, I'm good, man. And then they let it go without a person on there. And I saw how it was reacting. And I said, damn, the thing would have killed me, dude. Now I have had to get in front of a bull and put pressure on its head. And it tried to lift me up. So I just gave all my weight and I flattened myself out, and I weighed 275. And thank God the bull just kind of rolled side to side and its horns weren't massive. And I was helping out, was what I was doing. I was out there unofficially rodeo clowning, trying to get this bull to stop trying to kill this dude who had already had his lower back broke. And it was, that was crazy. So I've seen some really crazy stuff. I used to go to the bull riding events down in Mexico, in northern Mexico. Golly, they get nuts down there. It's like a cross between bullfighting and PBR. But yeah, it gets really crazy. I wouldn't recommend hooves or horns or teeth on you. It's a horrible thing. But Nick, we've gotten reports here because, of course, Paranormal Roundtable is unique and is weird and got all kinds of weird stuff going on. We've gotten reports, and we've had people talk about seeing dogman that look like goat-headed creatures. Now, whether or not that's a goat man with teeth, or if it's with like fangs, or if it's a dog man with horns, what is it? Because horns and hooves don't go together. I mean, the horns and hooves don't go with teeth like that.
No, not at all.
Not in the natural world.
Plus that could be a completely different creature. I've gotten reports of goat man, at times, not carrying an axe or anything, but having a goat-like legs, with the hooves and all that, and face, and going bipedal. But the thing about the goat man reports versus the dog man reports, this is what I differentiated, is that the size, generally the size is 5 feet, maximum 6 feet. Dogman reports are always getting, high 6s and into 7. Never really more than like 7 feet, 7.5 feet, something like that. So the difference between the goat one and the dog man, and that's how I can tell the difference. Plus the hair color is a lot, how do I say, it's more like in the gray to dirty white zone instead of black, which is generally what a dogman report is. It's short black hair, like 3 inches of hair, and it's black.
This the goat man creature, there's one that is seen out there, Devil's Backbone and Purgatory Road, and it's black. It is a black being, tall, 7.5 to 8 feet tall. It's massive. Its shoulders are massive. It's as big, or if not bigger, than any dogman I've heard of out there. And some reports have given it some really big set of teeth. But it looks. Some people claim it looks kind of wolf-like, but it's got horns. Definitely has big old rack of horns. I don't know what that is. It doesn't look like a satyr with the human-like face and the goat-like legs. It's got a ram head looking thing, kind of like it. Some people claim that the horns go out like that, and some people claim that they curve down. And I've had 2 people at the same place at a Whataburger sit there and tell me same creature they think, but it was completely different horns from the same area. What are the odds that there's 2 different ones with different horns? Exactly, perfect description, except the horns were different. That seems odd. That seems almost like, and I was there, Scorpion was with me, and they argued back and forth, like, no, the horns look like this. And I said, y'all didn't see this at the same time. One guy's seen it twice, and he swears they're rounded ram-like horns, like a ram. And the other one says, no, they're goat horns, man. And they argued back and forth vehemently until I said, but what if you both are right? Or what if you're both wrong?
There's 2 different ones.
Yeah, that's a weird thing, dude. You get these weird stories, man. I don't know. Well, Nick, I'm going to let you run, man. I got to jump off here in a few minutes. Unless you have anything else you want to do. Yeah, for sure. Tell us where we can find you and Jay.
Well, on the you can find us on the International Dogman Project because Jay is one of my admins. We have different International Dogman projects throughout, Facebook. Quad Coalition of Sciences, we run that also. If you guys want to, look us up on just our regular podcast In Search of Living Legends, and also on the Cryptid Consortium. We just have a fun time on the Cryptid Consortium. The In Search of Living Legends, we do interview people, and we've had quite a few, decent folks to interview these past few days. What we like to do is we like to get information out of them. I mean, good, solid information. And on quite a few of our interviews, we got some things that we hadn't even thought about. So just to get your brain thinking and different ideas, new ideas out there. But yeah, just International Dogman Project USA, and we have different ones in different states. Not every state, but we got IDP Southwest, IDP Southeast, Europe, UK. We'll probably be opening something up in Ireland, of all places, pretty soon, even though it's covered under the UK. So that I'm getting a couple of reports here and there, so that would be interesting to put out.
Got your email here. So Nick, that's how people can reach you, is through the email?
Yeah, please. That'd be a good way to do it.
And I'm a member of your groups. I post in there every now and then, the International Dogman Project, and of course the Quad Coalition of Sciences, which I think you and I had talked extensively about that and why it was important, because bringing the different phases of all this together. Definitely. BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, how's it going, man? Thank you for the donation. And check BMR out. He's a good guy too. Big Rob. I like him a lot. Great guy. There's a lot of good people in this field. There's just a few troublemakers that go around making up stories about the LBL and whatever else the F they come up with in their minds. But God bless them. That you takes all kinds. And we've dealt with some real Looney Tunes, but we've dealt with some real good people too.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really good people out there, and like I tell everybody, I'm not into the politics of it, but shouldn't be any politics in cryptozoology. I'm into it for the research.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be behind a computer in a library or being out there in the field, it's just it's a fun and varied science. And on my way to finishing Hoovelman's book at 700 pages, and I think every real cryptozoologist should read it.
I never finished it. I got about halfway through it.
It's big, isn't it, though? It's huge.
It is. And I jumped around, too. So I did read some of the second part of it. But,
there's so much interesting stuff. And he does bring out a lot of things in there that you never thought about. At least I never thought about. And I'm taking copious notes on it and everything. It's just simply amazing. But, Josh, thanks for having me on, and anytime.
Yeah, man. Some of this stuff it's really consuming. If you start reading it, you can't stop.
Oh God!
And it takes up a lot of time, dude. And I don't have that time right now, man. But for sure, dude. Nick, anytime, man, come back and don't be a stranger. Or if you need a guest, I've been turning down, different deals, whatever. But I'm always down to help you guys out. You and Jeremiah.
Okay.
Great people, man. Say hi to everybody and to Gary. All right, man. I'll let you run, Nick.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Nick.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, unfortunately, I got to get going here in a few minutes because I got work or whatever. But, it's just work calling. I'm going to find out what the heck it was that guard saw. Maybe we'll go by there and talk to him. There's different paths that everybody takes and different ways to get from point A to point B. And, Nick has been one of those people. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. We've really had any disagreements other than, what this thing is. Him thinking it's more along the lines of physical. I'm thinking more along the lines of metaphysical, but we kind of meet in the middle because he believes that these things are coming out of portals and going in between the realms. And that's pretty much what I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, because it does appear as a physical being, but it definitely is defying the laws of physics as we know it. Does that make sense? Are you following me?
Yeah.
And so you have this whole class of beings that is something that we can't really comprehend. I think Ken Gerhard said it best when I asked him, well, what do you think Bigfoot is? What is it? What is it doing? And he said, it's doing something we can't comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
You could be an aper all day long and say, hey, this thing is a physical thing, but at the end of the day, there's no evidence.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing things that are impossible, but maybe it's our definition of possible and impossible that need to be re-examined.
Yeah, and one of the things we didn't really get to touch on it tonight. We didn't have. I have to get going, but the rake, this rake creature, and then he mentioned, of course, the Wendigo, and that fire seems to be the only way out.
Mhm.
The Gugwi is another one. The Genosqua, which is sort of a cannibalistic red-haired giant version of Bigfoot. And then you have the Gugwi, which is this name that we've sort of assigned to what we can't comprehend, is a dogman that's more ape-like. It's like a primate werewolf. Would you say it's more of a werewolf, primate werewolf, or is it more of like a dogman looking Bigfoot? Like it's more of a Bigfoot or more of a wolf-like creature?
I would think probably like a primate looking werewolf.
Yeah. All right. Good night, Shane. We'll see you. West Coast Dogman Project, Shane, Michael Crisp, good guy from California. The only knock on Shane, he's a good guy, good family guy. He's a police officer, everything. The only problem with Shane is that he's a 49er fan.
Dang, I was gonna say, what is he, a Chiefs fan or an Eagles fan or
Oh, he's a 49er fan. It's about as bad as anything.
Hmm.
I have to forgive him. We just got to pray for him, folks. He's in bondage to the evil.
Yeah,
Okay.
to the enemy.
But then again, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're in bondage to Jerry.
Yeah.
I just think I own your soul. I'm gonna eat you. I'm gonna eat you up. I'm gonna make you think that we're gonna win, and then every year we're just gonna fall short and break your little heart. What we are in the business of doing is just getting to the playoffs, just getting there, so people will still get excited and buy our merchandise. They don't need to win. Don't get all crazy, make our salaries all bloated, and have to pay for all that. Don't be greedy. Just be good, and just good enough to go and lose. That's what's good. Don't be trying to be great and all that. That's when you get in trouble. That's Jerry talking right there. Right, Jerry? Let's not get all greedy and grabalicious, right? We don't want to be grabbing for that Lombardi trophy. You're getting stupid now, all right? Let's just get the draft picks, pay them on the rookie contract. Once it's over, bye-bye. Bye-bye. I was MVP of the league. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I just want to get paid. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I said bye-bye. Started to aggravate me now. Let me call security now, boy. All right. Did you just call me boy? Yes, I did. I'm Jerry Jones. I can do what I want, boy. All right. I could roll around the floor like a dog right here if I wanted to. I could turn Texas Stadium into a circus, and I did. Right? That's Jerry's world. I moved it from Irving. I moved it over here to Arlington. Go to Frisco and watch the practice facility. You pay for that. Disturb them while they're lifting weights. Slap on the glass. Hey, Dak, you suck. Dak's like being observed like you're in a zoo. That's what's good, right? That's the shit right there, right? Yeah. Yes, they did actually, Evan. They did. They traded him. The thing people don't understand, they're like, oh, it's a first-round draft pick, though. Who gives a shit? You know how many busts there are on first-round draft picks? This, to me, is not one of those where it's going to work out and it's going to be all great, and then years down the road, they're going to go, huh, that was a great deal.
Wasn't Johnny Manziel a first-round draft pick?
Mm-hmm. In basketball, it's worse because you're not positioned. They do a lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Lottery. So you win the lottery, you pick first. You could be the best team in the league. You could be the champion from last year. You won the lottery, the draft lottery. So then you get to choose. Sounds like a great deal, huh? What if you get last pick in that lottery? You just traded away your best player. The league's probably second or third best player. You could have got a king's ransom for him. But instead, you know what you got? A washed-up player, and then you got a number one draft pick. Well, good luck with that. Let's see how that works out for you. I was looking at my Mavs hat going like, I should burn these. So mad. It's whatever. It's whatever you want to do. Everybody loves to be, whatever, unique and stupid and jacked up. So don't forget Sunday. We got Sunday coming up. We're going to talk a little more about these creatures out there in the western area of Lake Travis, where people claim the years ago, they haven't seen any of them in years. The latest reports I think that I could find were the early 80s. So you got those, and then you have Lucas's story of what happened with him on the edge of Round Rock years ago. Yeah, exactly. It's all bullshit. They don't even watch it. Just a waste. So, folks, thank you for tuning in. We are doing a Leviathan color contest.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever you think the Leviathan is, I got a few submissions. What they think it is. It's funny. This is hilarious. Some of them that I've got. Here's one of them. See if y'all can see that. You see it? We don't know what the thong looks like in the back, but rest assured that is the Leviathan. He's kind of just chilling. He's like, That one comes from Trey. Trey, thank you for that. That's funny. Got a few others down here somewhere I got to look through, but yeah. Send your Leviathan pictures in, and if you win, you know what? You might get some books or shirt or hat. Who knows? Whatever. Don't forget Sunday's show's coming up, and then of course on Monday we're doing a what's it called? Patreon show. And I want to say something about that too. I didn't get the idea for that from anybody else's stupid show. Okay, so stop getting excited and trying to take. Oh, you paid attention? No, I don't. Okay, I'm never going to. The idea for that came that we've been talking about it for a long time, that we needed to do something with the Patreon and for the Patreon. We're going above and beyond. We need the Patreon. We need the help, And, the other day, there was no aha moment or oops moment, whatever. The fact of the matter is we didn't start this to make money, but we do need money to keep it going. So we appreciate you, donating and helping out. But the best thing you can do is just show up and watch.
And hit the like button.
Hit the like button, subscribe, and give us views. Now, thankfully, our enemies are so obsessed with us. It's evil, though, that borders on idolatry and worship because they obsess over something. That's not good. It's bad. I'm not your God. I'm also not your devil. So you need to start paying attention to God and not me. Okay, enemies, you hear what I'm saying? You're all going to go to hell. And you think it's a big joke. If you really believed in God, you talk about God so much, you would stop. Because what you're doing is not Christian at all. Obsessing over a man, whether it's good or bad, you're giving that energy to that, whatever, you're worshiping it. Stop that. It's evil. Okay, so stop it. I know you're not going to because you're crazy. But, yeah, if you weren't so damn crazy, maybe you would. But the Patreon is a way to support the show and help us out and do whatever, and you get something out of it. That's the best way to do it. But if not, you can always donate to the show like normal, or super chat, or you can do the what is it? Put the link for the PayPal on there. And who knows what's going to happen with the Patreon. We're trying to keep everything not behind a paywall. We want to keep it all free, but we don't want to cram it full of ads either. But whatever happens in the Patreon happens in the Patreon. If people start talking and people come on and they want to talk, we're doing that right now. What we're doing is we're doing a, what's it called? Where people can jump on.
My live stream?
Well, yeah, but it's a live stream, but it's interactive. We're going to do the same thing on this one coming up Monday. We're going to do it about 8 o'clock, and we're going to be on for a couple of hours, and we're going to let anybody who wants to talk and tell their story, they can jump on. I'm not going to tell stories myself. that won't go on the show. You might hear it first there, but then I'll retell it on the show. Therefore, nothing is behind the paywall from me. But if people want to come on and tell their encounters, that they're welcome to. That's what it's for all of us to get together and talk and make decisions in the future of the show. And you can have a voice, and you can come on and you can interact and talk with me and Anthony and whoever else is the guest, whoever wants to come on. We had 4 or 5 people jump on last time. So there you go. Also, this coming Sunday, Abe Seas, I don't know if he even knows this or not, because I was supposed to get back with him, verify it. But I think me and him are going to both be on Jason Bland's show on Talk Soup on Sunday. So thinking that for sure, he'll be on, hopefully, and then I'll be on too, possibly. I'm not real sure yet. What is it? Labriathan? What is that?
I think it's a typo for Leviathan.
Oh, okay. Anything else we need to say before we go?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on Sunday, and good night.